Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel, FACCI'S Cinema. Back for my second day in a row. Yesterday was the high tension watch along for Watch Until You Drop, and today, episode number 18 of the Faccmonster Cafe, where I bring on, a fellow content creator, YouTuber, whatever you want to call him. Bring him on, get to know him a little bit. And tonight is no different. I still, I thought this would be a temporary thing, but I mean, 18 episodes deep, still meeting new people along the way. There's a ton of other people that I have not met yet. So I'm going to keep growing this series. Views are not, amazing, but it doesn't really matter because I'm getting to meet so many amazing new people throughout this process. And tonight is no different. Tonight is, he's a badass horror creator over there. And I've never had him on the channel yet. This is our first time interacting at all. I'm very, very happy that he agreed to come on because his channel is amazing over there. And I'm talking about Pizowell. There he is, my man. I said it right. So good for me. What's going on, man?
Not too much. Just hanging out with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to have you. Glad you agreed to come on and chat it up a little bit. I've had a bunch of your buddies on already. Nick from the Lost River Drive-In, Christian, all those boys. They've been on, so figured why not reach out to you. So
yeah, well, thanks for the invite.
No problem. Glad you're here. I saw you had fun at Days of the Dead in Atlanta. It looked like a blast. Saw your posts about that and videos. Looked really cool. And
yeah, it was a good time.
Still never been to a convention myself yet. I know. I get it a lot. Everybody says you gotta go, and I just never go.
So what part of the country do you live in?
I'm from Pennsylvania.
Okay, so you've got some conventions right in your backyard, man. You've got the walking, what's it you've got the one that they do at the mall.
Yes.
Monroeville Mall every year, right?
Dawn of the Dead one. Yep. Yeah. Yep. We got Still City Comic-Con. I think there's actually going to be a convention somewhere down in Pittsburgh in the next couple of weeks with like the cast from like Rob Zombie's Halloween. They're going to be there, I believe. Some other people. So maybe I'm planning on going to Monster Mania in New Jersey. I think it's second weekend in March. I was hoping to go meet Garrett from Born to Be Rad and Justin and Mel, hopefully. So he's going to try to make it out there. But one of these days, I'm going to make it happen.
We'll see. Man, it's even if you don't want to break the bank and get a bunch of autographs or whatever, just going and just getting a feel for the place and the energy and just being around all those other horror fans, and just it's kind of a high. I mean, really. So I mean, it's a little addictive. So once you start, I mean, you never stop. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna see. I'm hoping. I got the hotel booked for New Jersey, so we'll see if I back out. Hopefully I don't, because I'd like to go and hang out with those guys.
And Garrett's a good guy. I've hung out with him. I met him at a convention a few years ago. And we ran around. So he's a cool guy. So
I saw my buddy James Grimm. He posted some pictures of you, and he ran out to you in California, I believe.
Oh yeah, at Halloween 45. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. He posted some pictures. That's my James is my dude. I love James a lot. Yeah. So where are you from? California as well?
No, Kentucky.
Okay, not even close. But damn, dedication. I'd love to go to Halloween 50. I'm assuming they're gonna do one. I'd imagine.
I'm sure. I mean, one of the big draws to going all the way out there for 45 was like, I mean, some of those folks, man, they may not be there for Halloween 50. So I was like, it's now or never. And it was a big deal. I'd never flown before. I'd never been to California before, but I mean, it was a huge experience, but I mean, I loved it. It was great. So.
Awesome. I told James, I said, I got, under 5 years now, but I'm going to plan on it. I mean, I'd love to meet James as well. So I definitely want to go out there and hang out. And of course, Halloween, since it's my favorite franchise there is. So, I mean, I got to go.
They did a really good, like, the convention itself was just really, really well done. I mean, it was well organized, lots lots of room. All the guests were great. I mean, it was just a cool. It was really cool.
I'm gonna have to do it, I guess. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about you. So I want to know what got you started in the YouTube game in the first place. Like, what made you want to talk movies and do everything that is included in a YouTube channel?
Well, it was many, many years ago. I don't know if I was even aware that there was a YouTube. I mean, like I was still getting all of my horror news updates from websites like Arrow in the Head and stuff like that. And it was actually through Arrow in the Head that I discovered Dead Pit. And Arrow had quoted them on something, and I remember I read the name, was like The Creepy Kentuckian. What? So I had to follow the link, and it went to their YouTube channel, and that just sort of opened me up to this entire YouTube world. And like, I don't know, I decided, I was like, hey, this seems like a really cool community, and I want to add my voice to it. And I had no idea how big it was, because even then we're talking like 2009 here, 2007, yeah, something like 2009. I mean, I had no idea how big it was then, and of course, I mean, now it's enormous.
Yeah.
So it was, it just kind of I just kind of hit the ground running. I like to say this too, like everything in my life that's had any kind of longevity, I've just walked into completely blindly. Like I had no plans, no long-term goal, which is like, yeah, let me try this. And then you turn around, oh, that was 15 years ago. We're like, let me, I might like this. And I've been doing this for 20 years, stuff like that. That's and YouTube has been one of those things.
That's what I mean. Most of the newer channels obviously came in around the pandemic time, which includes myself. Had a lot of downtime and watched a lot of horror YouTubers, and I was like, why not? I mean, I'm sure I might not get as big as them or ever even close, but they're talking about horror movies, and there's other people out there that actually like horror movies as much as I do. Because in my daily life, like a lot of people I talk to, I don't know that many people that like horror movies in real life, to be honest. Like, there's nobody I can talk to. My wife will watch them with me, but she doesn't care about them as much as I do. So it's like talking to the wall anyway. But
yeah, so it's the same thing where, like, I mean, I didn't know a lot of people who, I mean, I had a couple of my buddies who liked horror, but outside of that, like the people I worked with, they didn't like horror. So it was like, oh, here's this community of people who love horror. And I was shocked at how many of them were also from Kentucky. Even now, like there's so many Kentucky YouTubers. It's like, but I mean, there's not a whole lot to do here. So, I mean, yes, but, I mean, that's why, not to take it. I mean, if you want to talk conventions, we can talk conventions all day, but that's kind of, I think, this area is kind of convention alley because, I've always heard like, I mean, I know people who work in conventions and managers and they're like, California conventions, like people don't go to them because you can see a celebrity at the grocery store. There's like, you guys out there, like you guys out there, like you guys really, you let it, you're all about these conventions. That's why, Kentucky, Tennessee, the Carolinas, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, it's convention alley,
that is true. I don't get too many celebrities at my grocery store, so I totally get it.
Yeah.
But so I asked every guest this, since obviously when it comes to the horror genre, primarily franchise wise, there's usually the big three, obviously. I need to know which one of the big three is your personal favorite.
Friday the 13th is my personal favorite.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the one I grew up watching the most. That's the one that really resonated with me the most. That's the one that I revisit the most often. And I mean, those movies were constantly on TV. I mean, USA Up All Night, every Friday the 13th, they just, did a marathon of those. And yeah, so definitely Friday the 13th.
I mean, how obviously they're all mainstream, but I think you're right. It seemed like Friday the 13th was more likely to be on whatever station it is compared to Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street for whatever reason. Um, most of the people that asked this question so far, it's either Halloween or Friday. I know Nightmare has its fans, but most guests I've had on so far do not pick Nightmare as their favorite. So
what's funny about that is, I mean, Nightmare was a bigger franchise in the 80s than either of those, money wise. But I think it's, it's because we've not had a whole lot of Nightmare movies or anything really. I mean, the Friday the 13th video game kept that alive, and of course we've had the new Halloween movies, and Scream was a big part of bringing really all three of those movies back into light, especially Halloween. So I think Friday or Nightmare just hasn't. I think a lot of people have almost forgotten about Nightmare, to be honest.
That's a good point.
And a lot of newer horror fans, they're like, well, Scream is their favorite. And like, they'll go Scream. It's either Scream or Halloween, or they'll go back and forth on which one is 1 and 2, then maybe Friday, and then like Saw, and then like Nightmares, it's just sort of an afterthought,
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't hate Nightmare on Elm Street or anything. It's just never been my go-to. I don't really find myself sitting around and be like, hey man, I want to watch Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 or whatever. Yeah. But Friday the 13th is just such a fun franchise. Every single movie for the most part is I can have a good time with. Besides for me, Jason X, I just do not enjoy that movie. I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of people, it's just dumb fun, but I just not a fan of Jason X. But other than that, I'll watch any of them. And I've grown a more appreciation to the original. I kind of always push that one to the side, but the more I watch it, I kind of enjoy it and want to include it in my marathons instead of skipping to part 2. I know.
Yeah, I think, I mean, Friday the 13th Part 1 is unique because it was like, of all the big franchises, it was not everyone's sort of favorite. The first one's always the best. But I think really when you look at that first one, and I've done the same thing where, I've gotten more and more appreciation for that movie over the years, to the point now where I'm like, it's definitely, it's in the top 3 for sure. You know what I mean? Maybe top 2.
Dang.
I think it's just a really solid, dark, moody, murder mystery slasher. And I've been to that camp twice where they shot it. Let me tell you, it's just like holy ground. It's such a, if anybody has the opportunity to go to that camp, do it, because it's just it's a spirit, for me at least. It's like a spiritual event, and the camp looks, they've done a good job of keeping it looking almost exactly the same.
Nice. That's probably the most important part.
Well, I actually watched, they screened the first movie in front of the lake, and we all sat like in front of the lake and watched the movie. That was unbelievable.
I've heard, I mean, New Jersey's not too far away from me. They send me emails all the time. They're Camp Crystal Lake's always texting my phone, sending me tickets available, and I'm like,
it's not cheap. It's not cheap, but I mean, it's worth it, man. It's worth it. And they're trying, the last one I went to, this was before the pandemic. I mean, they had, it was sort of, they called it a mega, I think it was a mega tour is what they called it, because they'd made it longer, of course. They'd given you access to parts of the camp that had been off limits before.
Oh, nice.
But then they also had, like, people from the movies there. It was almost a little bit of a convention as well. Like, Tom Savini was there, Tasso was there. Bunch of people from the first movie were there. It was crazy. So yeah,
that's the one. I think they did another one of those not too far back. That was the one I really wanted to go to, but I kind of wanted my kids to go, and I think there wasn't. I'm pretty sure there's an age limit. They have to be so old and even to be able to even go. So I kind of have to wait a little bit until they're kind of older so they can go with me, because I don't want to go without them.
Yeah. But I can't recommend it any higher, man. It's really incredible.
That's definitely on the bucket list. Thanks, Dean. Another super chat 499 for the channel, dude. I appreciate it, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So what's a horror franchise that you think deserves a little bit more love and it doesn't get the attention that it deserves?
Leprechaun.
Wow.
Those movies are brilliant. I'm joking, by the way. Leprechaun in the Hood 2 is just one of the best horror movies
Hey,
ever.
I mean, they make you laugh. I'll tell you that.
I've actually not seen Leprechaun in the Hood 2, as a matter of fact. But that one, yeah. I do like the first one, and the second one's kind of funny. But I mean, yeah. Anyway, that doesn't get enough love. Honestly, probably. Goodness. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre comes to mind because I think beyond the first one, it doesn't seem like people talk about the sequels that much. Which, I mean, the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre is just a brilliant movie. So all those other movies have, I mean, they've got big shoes to fill. But part 2 is such a riot. I love it. It's just so zany. It's the complete polar opposite to what the first movie is, and I love that about it. And 3, I think, is good, clean. Well, not clean, but good fun. I even get it. I mean, look, Matthew McConaughey with like a robotic leg that he controls with a remote control. That to me is worth the price of admission alone. And that the remake that they did in the early 2000s, to me, that with Dawn of the Dead, those are the 2 best remakes of that era in my mind, period.
They're good.
So yeah. So people don't talk about Texas Chainsaw very often anymore. I think that one's kind of slid down, way down the list, and I kind of was hopeful that new Texas Chainsaw Massacre game would do for Chainsaw what the Friday the 13th game did for Friday the 13th, but it doesn't seem to have had that effect. So
no, I think you're the first one to say Texas Chainsaw, so that's the first time that's been brought up. And the watch along series that I just started is actually the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because for the same reasons, I didn't think it got talked about enough. I mean, people talk about Friday and Halloween all the time, and I asked the viewers what they wanted me to do. Of course, they said Halloween, and I said, I don't really want to do Halloween right now. I'm kind of Halloweened out from Ends Kills in 2018.
Oh yeah.
So let's go Texas Chainsaw. Just did part 2 the other day. It's a freaking riot. That movie is a riot. It's total opposite than the first one, but it's not a bad thing, I don't think.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Damn enjoyable.
I mean, the sequel was Toby Hooper's answer to, like, people didn't get the humor in the first movie because they were just so shocked by what they were watching. And he was, people said that they saw gore and all that in the first movie, and it just wasn't there. So he was like, okay, I'm going to go over the top with the humor and the gore, and just, there you go.
It was a good time. I liked it. Yeah. What'd you think about the Netflix one from 2022?
I liked it a lot. Okay. I had a great time with it. Yeah. I wish it would come on Blu-ray. I would certainly buy it on Blu-ray. But yeah, I had a great time with it.
I always wondered that. So how does that work? So since it's a Netflix movie, it will never go to Blu-ray or physical media?
I mean, probably not, because I mean, Netflix wants you to keep that subscription. So,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Why sell you something one time when, can keep you coming back for more with that subscription? Yeah. So I think, that's the same, that the Hulu Hellraiser. I mean, I think we were lucky to get Prey on 4K.
Yeah.
And from what I heard, we actually weren't supposed to get it on 4K. Those were supposed to be like international releases. But something happened, and then they ended up being able to sell them in the US. So I forget all those chain of events, but originally we weren't going to get Prey in the US, and something had to happen, blah blah. I don't remember, but
that's crazy.
We got lucky to get Prey.
That was a good movie too. That wasn't bad. Yeah. I mean, I saw people get the Netflix Texas Chainsaw, but obviously it was like on Etsy
Yeah.
or whatever. They make the cases homemade and then burn the fruit with a disc. I was like,
Mhm.
that's not really the same thing. I mean, like,
No. Yeah, I'd love to, yeah, I mean, I'd love that, and I'd love the Hulu Hellraiser on physical, with some nice extras and a commentary and all that jazz that you don't get on Hulu
yeah,
or Netflix with your subscription.
I'm surprised they don't add that on there, like little special features alongside the movie. But I guess that would just take too much time, and they don't really care
I
to do that.
I mean, I guess. I know they did with the Hulu with Prey. I mean, they had, like, the 2 different versions of it. They had the version with the English, and then they had the
Mhm.
version where they were actually speaking in the Native American language,
Okay.
so, yeah.
Um. Okay, so we got that. So you might have already answered this one with your Leprechaun. What's a horror franchise that you want nothing to do with? You don't ever want to watch any of those movies ever again.
It would I mean, it would be a close either Saw or Hatchet, and I saw somebody in the chat talking about Hatchet a little while ago. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I just couldn't connect with Hatchet at all. I think it just, I just remember when that movie was coming out, like, all the big horror, sites and
Mhm.
whatnot, they hyped that one up so big, and then I watched it, and I was just like, it's and I've tried a couple of the sequels, and again, it just doesn't do anything for me. And the Saw stuff, I mean, I the first one I think is great, but then beyond that, they just kind of all bleed together for me. And I know some people love them for the
Yeah.
torture porn aspects. I know some people love them because there is, like, at least I've been told, there's like a through line as far as the
Yeah.
plot with all of them, and they all link together and whatnot. But
Mhm.
I don't know. I just, I've
Yeah.
only seen up to part 4, and I don't really remember anything about 3 or 4, to be honest. The only thing I remember about part 2 is Shawnee Smith falling in that all those
Yeah. The
hypodermic
needles.
needles.
Yeah.
And then I saw the Chris Rock one, and I was like, this isn't very good. So,
Damn.
yeah. So I don't know. Saw, and I know Saw is or at one time, I mean, it was every, if it's
Yeah.
Halloween, it's Saw. Every October there was a new Saw.
Yep.
I don't know. I couldn't get into it. Couldn't get into him.
Um, I was real big on them when they first came out. I mean, I was I think I was late in high school, probably senior year when they came out, when the first one came out. So, I made it like a Halloween tradition every year they came out, 1, 2, and 3, and then after that, I kind of just was like, yeah, I'm sick of this now.
Mhm,
Um, I did Spiral. On the other hand, I think I'm one of the outcasts that really enjoyed it.
mhm.
I don't know why, but
I
I
I
did.
didn't I didn't hate Spiral. It was very, like, it opened, I think, really strong. That little speech by Chris Rock at the beginning, I was like, "Hell yeah, let's go." And then, there were things I liked about it. It ended really poorly, and I think, it was obvious, like, the twist and stuff, so
Damn it! Once again, this shit goes over my head in every single movie because everybody always says everything is so obvious, and I'm like, I didn't see that coming at all. I guess I'm just not watching it that hard. I guess I miss it all the time. Oh well.
Mm.
Just like Scream 5, they're like, yeah, I knew the killer was in 5 minutes. I was like, oh, I didn't.
There was a th there was a really odd moment in Scream 5 where, like, the 2 killers just they exchanged this look at each other, like,
Uh,
really early on, and I was like, "What the hell was that?" And I was like, that's gotta be, like, some kinda diversion," and, like, "No, they're the killers." Like, "Oh." So,
now
yeah, yeah, yeah.
after the first time, I really didn't catch it, but then when I rewatched it again, I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
It is pretty obvious.
Yeah, yeah. I was rewatching Thanksgiving because I bought the Blu-ray today, and there's a
Nice.
there's a moment early on in the movie where Patrick Dempsey says to, the guy who owns the mall's
Hmm.
wife, "Oh, you'll make a great Thanksgiving meal."
Oh,
And then, of course, later on,
yeah.
she does become a Thanksgiving meal thanks to him, and I was like, I didn't catch that the first time, but okay, yeah, okay. Little nudge from Eli there. I thought that was funny.
I enjoyed the hell out of Thanksgiving.
Oh, I did too.
I was I want to buy the Blu-ray, but I know they're gonna come out with something eventually, and then I'm gonna be mad that I bought
Yeah,
the
I
first
mean,
one. So
I'm sure they will, but at the same time, I mean, if they're looking at it from just dollars and cents, you know, Blu-ray and DVD destroy 4K in sales. So I mean, if they're
yeah,
just looking at what sales, maybe they're not going to do a 4K. They just put it on Blu-ray and DVD. And what's funny too is I don't know if it's still this way, but the pre-order for the DVD was like $10 more than the Blu-ray on Amazon.
really.
Yeah, because DVD blows Blu-ray sales out of the water still.
I
So
I don't remember.
yeah,
I don't remember the last time I bought a DVD. To be honest.
I mean, occasionally I'll find one at like a used bookstore for $1
Yeah,
or some old movie I'll buy. But yeah, so yeah, if they're just looking at it from the perspective of dollars and cents, then they may not do a 4K or maybe like a boutique,
yeah,
around Thanksgiving this year, will get it and do it. But
I could see
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Maybe when it gets closer to the sequel coming out, they might pump out like a
Oh,
Steelbook or a
sure.
4K.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and that's very possible too. Just before that one comes out, yeah, here's your big 4K steelbook, with
Yep.
with a turkey baster and or like the mask in a box or something.
Anything to make the price of it more expensive. That's fine.
Mhm. Yeah.
I did see. Oh, Blu-ray Addict says, "Do you guys think John Carver could be a horror icon?"
Um, I mean, I don't. Sure. I think it all depends on I mean, they're definitely doing a sequel. If the sequel's good,
It'll keep
hey,
going.
it'll keep going, and if the part three's good, so I mean, I I like the character of John Carver. Um, I mean, I love the little scene where, he after he decapitates the guy, he feeds the guy's cat and gives it a little pet and then
That
leaves,
is nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I like the character. So, I mean, I'm definitely going to buy the mask from Trick or Treat Studios when that comes out. When the little figure comes out, I'm going to get it too. So, yeah, I like the
Nice.
character. Yeah.
That's what when I was watching Christian's channel when he was going over the Trick or Treat Studios catalog, and he came to the John Carver mask and was like, "Now who the hell's going to want to buy this?" And I was like, "I'm sure there's people out there that are going to want
Oh,
that'll
yeah.
buy it immediately."
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll get it.
I mean, people bought the Halloween Ends Corey Scarecrow mask. They're going to buy that one.
Right there it is. Right there it is.
Yeah, I see it
Right
right
over my
above your
shoulder.
head.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
surprised I didn't buy that one because I do love me some Corey, but
Yeah.
I didn't get it. Speaking of that, did you like Halloween Ends?
I did. I did like Halloween
Okay.
Ends. It's got problems. It's got problems, but I mean, I've talked about that trilogy a lot on my channel and how it's just so it's almost like it's backwards, or like it's out of
Mhm.
order. Like in should have been the middle part, you know what I mean? And like the first movie should have been the end, and
I
it's so weird. It's like that trilogy is so wacky to me.
It is.
But Halloween Ends. Corey is really the only character in that movie with, in my opinion, a real arc. Because if you look at Jamie's arc is backwards. She starts out the
It
movie
is.
as a wreck, and she ends the movie as like I'm baking a cake. I'm the perfect grandma, or she's baking a pie. She's the perfect grandma, It's like
Yep.
it's backwards. So I don't know. It's so whacked out, that whole trilogy. But I did like Ends because they were doing something different. I liked the Corey character. I liked what they were trying to say about evil and
Mhm.
whatever. And I totally understand why people dislike it, and I get it. But I don't know. I think in 5 years or whatever, the
Yes.
only movie in that trilogy that anybody will be talking about will be Ends, because they did do something different, and the Corey character is, I think, interesting, and so that's my take on it.
Good. It's not. It's nice to see somebody else who likes the movie because
Mm.
I went to see it in theaters and I was like, went with my wife and she was like, it was fine. I was like, I fucking loved it. I shouldn't love it, but I do.
It's
It
very
was.
it's interesting too how that series really everybody seemed to like the first one,
Yes.
2018. Everybody seemed to like that one. Everybody was on the same page. They liked it, and to me, that one's the most Halloween of the three.
Yes.
But then, like, once you got into Kills, and of course you had all those delays with Kills, and everybody was just chomping at the bit to see Kills. Like, the first time I saw Kills, like, I was embarrassed. Like, I hated that movie to death.
Thank you.
And I couldn't believe, like, the evil dies tonight, and the one guy jumping off the building, and like, it blew me away. That whole movie was just, to me, it's a mess. But it completely divided everybody. There are people who loved it, there are people who hated it. It was the first time in my YouTube career I got threats because I didn't like a movie.
Really?
Yeah. First time in my YouTube career I got physical threats because I did not like that movie. Yeah. But and the same thing with Ends. Like, again, that one split everybody.
Yeah.
People loved it or they hated it. But at least I didn't get death threats for liking it. So
that Nick from the Lost River Drive-In did. So
oh, that's right. Yeah.
What, man? And I was like, man, I want some of these threats. Nobody cares what I think. I didn't like Kills either when I saw it the first time. I walked out of the theater and was like, what the hell was that?
I've softened to it a little. I mean, it's still like they should have dramatically cut out the stuff in the hospital. They should have cut so much out of the hospital stuff, and that to me is just everything that takes place in the hospital is just horrendous.
You skip over it.
Just skip all that entirely. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. You know, we're still talking about those movies, and you know, we're how many years past them at this point? So we're still talking about them.
Hey, that's what people didn't like David Gordon Green's trilogy, but like you said, we're still talking about the movie, so it left an impression one way or the other on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tabata says Halloween Ends would have been a great fourth movie after the demise of Myers. That's a good point. They should have did 4 instead of 3. But too many loose ends, not properly wrapped up from the masterpiece that is Halloween Kills.
I mean, the plan was for Kills and Ends to take place like one right after the other. Well, that was the original plan, and then that didn't pan out, so that turned into Ends. And so it's just so weird. That whole I look back on that trilogy, and it's just like the first movie, and I like 2018, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of it's boring at times. It just is. It's boring at times, and then you get into Kills, and it's like it's insane. And then you go into Ends, and you're like, wait a minute, what the hell's going on here? Where's Michael at? He's like this old. He literally, a mob just beat the crap out of him. They shot him, they stabbed him, they beat the crap out of him. He got up and took them all out in a second. Now he's like an old guy living in a sewer, and he can barely move. And like this little scrawny kid just manhandled him. Like, what the hell?
Oh yeah.
And like the same people wrote and directed this thing. Like okay, I mean, whatever.
So we got 2018 is kind of bland. 2018 or Kills is just insane, over the top, and then Ends is weird.
Exactly.
So there's a little bit of flavor for everybody. So pick whichever one you want to watch it.
A little bit of flavor, exactly. Yeah. I remember somebody messaged, this was a long time ago, but somebody messaged me and they were like, do you think when they start making Halloween movies again, they'll pick up after Ends and like we'll be on the road with what? I was thinking like, no, nobody's ever going to touch this trilogy. I mean, it's done. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not. I don't think even people who liked the trilogy, like they're like, it's done. Just leave it behind.
There's nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go. Just leave it alone. Yeah.
Unless they want to be like, hey, well, they never found Corey's body over there laying on the ground, and like, oh my gosh, he's gone.
Or maybe she's pregnant with Corey's baby, and as soon as she has the baby, she looks at it, and the baby just stares at her with the devil's eyes.
Oh, sweet mother. Then it jumps forward 7 years and kills the babysitter, and
it's all starting over again.
It's not. Oh God, somebody did ask me that as well. They're like, "You think they're going to follow up with Allison?" I was like, "No, I'm not going to do that.
It's not going to happen. Yeah,
it's over. It's over." Yeah. I mean, it's gonna come back. Obviously, Halloween's never gonna go away. It makes too much money.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I saw that they're gonna come out with a TV show. I was hearing, and a movie, and possibly Halloween 4 Part 2, which I don't think's ever gonna come to theaters. But
Nah, that's not gonna happen.
I mean, I'd go see it, but it's not gonna happen. I don't think.
Yeah, nah, it's not gonna happen.
It wouldn't make enough money.
I mean, I think it would be an interesting little like if they did like an animated movie or like a I don't know. I mean, like I would watch it for sure, but I just don't. I don't. I mean, let's see, who bought somebody was
yeah,
it
Miramax.
Okay, Miramax. Okay, yeah. I mean, they're going to want to start their whole thing and launch launch their own series or trilogy or whatever. They don't want any connective tissue to anything that's come before except for Michael. And I just hope they don't do the whole origin thing over again. And here's the new Laurie and blah blah blah. Like no, forget about all that.
Go a different direction.
All we need is give us Michael, give us a white mask, give us a knife. We know how things go. So
yeah, we don't need the details. Adrian James says, "Do you think Halloween Ends could have ended up on a cliffhanger?"
Sure. I mean, they could have done something where like Corey doesn't die, but like the evil or whatever is transferred back to Michael, and Allison and Corey run away together. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I mean, no, it couldn't have ended on it. It ended the way it needed to end, with Michael going into a grinder.
Hamburger, he's a hamburger.
Yeah, turn him nice hamburger. Yeah.
So yeah, they really, to be open ended, the way Michael ain't coming back from that. So the only way would be zoom over and Corey's not there, because that's the only thing that you could do.
There was one really interesting thing they did in the ends that I kind of do hope that they carry over into whatever they do next. It's like how in how like Pennywise poisons Derry, like everyone in everyone's poisoned. Like Michael had poisoned everyone in Haddonfield. Had just poisoned the whole town. And like that opening and ends where like you see the one guy's mother, like she's
I love that.
And like you just like everybody, like that. I think kind of that made it feel like that made Michael feel even more like powerful and like this being of pure evil, and that he can infect that I thought was kind of cool. So if they do carry on, maybe that's something they could explore.
And either way, for the most part, it's a lose-lose. Half the fan base will like it, the other half won't. It's just the way it's always going to be, no matter what it is. Besides, 2018 for the most part was well liked. That one didn't have that many haters.
Yeah,
but I think that's because it came after Rob Zombie's 2 films that a lot of people didn't enjoy. So it was like 10 times a step up.
Yeah, and I mean you had Jamie Lee Curtis back, and John Carpenter's doing the music, and it's like, oh, David Gordon Green, he's like this award-winning director, right? And so there was huge excitement for that movie, huge hype.
Now, for Friday the 13th, on the other hand, obviously we're getting a TV show, and you being a Friday the 13th guy, what are your thoughts on that? Are you looking forward to it? You kind of nervous what they're going to do?
I mean, I think it's in good hands. The showrunner is, somebody who's done really good, hit shows. He knows how to turn a movie property into a long-running series. From what I was told, he's already got like 3 seasons mapped out.
Damn.
And he can pull from anything. Like he can pull from anything he wants. Any Jason, if he wants to do a Jason X episode, he can do a Jason X episode. If he whatever he wants to do, he can do. So he has all this stuff to pull from. And maybe, I don't know. I think when you try to make Friday the 13th too complicated, you lose the simplicity of it, and that there's so much beauty, I think, in that simplicity. So trying to expand on the story and trying to make it more complicated and bringing in all these other characters, and occasionally I guess Jason will pop up, or Mrs. Voorhees will pop up or whatever. I don't know. It's I'm kind of nervous about it, to be honest, but I think it's in good hands. Let's just, we'll see what happens when it happens.
Yeah, I mean, I saw A24 and I was like, I'm not the biggest A24 fan. I don't like a lot of their movies. However, after rewatching X and just watching Talk to Me yesterday for the first time,
Mm.
I, I'm starting to open up a little bit to what they could bring to the table.
I
I
mean,
enjoy the hell out of those. So
it all depends on who's making it. I mean, that's kind of, like back during that whole remake trend we were talking about earlier, like I would be like, well, who's making it? Well, the guy used to direct music videos. Oh, Jesus. It's like, oh, okay. Well, okay. So it's going to look like a music video. Okay, great.
yep.
Yeah. I think it depends on who's writing it and who's directing it. If they're good, talented people, and then that gives us hope. If it's, Uwe Boll, then there's going to probably be issues. So, um, I don't know. I mean, I'm more excited for a movie because I think they could, I think they could. I mean, to me, Friday the 13th, that 90-minute window is where it shines. But
Beautiful.
we'll see. Yeah.
Well, yeah, 90 minutes is good, but movies these days like to be 2 hours and 2.5 hours.
Oh,
So
yeah. God, I can't
Jason,
imagine. I can't
Jason's gonna be
imagine.
killing people for a long time.
And that's something else too. Like when they do bring out this Friday the 13th movie, it's like, please don't give us the origin story. We know it. You know what I mean? Like everybody knows the Jason origin
Oh,
story. We don't need it over again. It's like,
it's coming.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind them. It's not what everybody wants, but it'd be a nice way to start the franchise up again. Is if go back a little bit earlier in Pamela's years. Get to see maybe some interactions with her and Jason, see what that was like, and then go from there.
Well, that's the
But
movie. That's the movie they were gonna make years and years ago. It was it was when Platinum Dunes
no,
had
yeah, yeah,
rights. Yeah, it was gonna be like, it was gonna be young Jason, his mother, and like Jason's father, Elias, was in it, and Elias was killing people
nice.
with the tater sack on.
Oh,
And like the mother found out about that, and then she killed him, and then Jason drowns, and then so she goes on her thing. It sounded like, it was, the script is still out there somewhere, I'm sure. It just it didn't feel like a Friday the 13th, at least from what I read. So I don't know if it would have. I don't think it would have.
hit it.
I don't think it would have hit. No, no.
No, I mean, when I first started this channel back in 2020, 2019, one of those years, one of the first videos I did was like a concept video for how to bring back Friday the 13th. And it was pretty much based on obviously Pamela in interaction with Jason. And then Jason, when they thought he drowned, but he really didn't drown. Luckily, Pamela found him, hid him away, so people thought that he drowned. And then that's how he came back, because he was never dead in the first place. But I don't know if people would like the fact that he's not actually dead.
Yeah,
And
I think kind of the same thing with Michael. People want Jason. They want the hockey mask, they want the machete, they want,
yep.
Jason doing what Jason does best, So oh, and I mean, hopefully we'll hear about, because I know that movie's in the works. I know it's, it's in the
Eventually.
works. So hopefully we'll hear some kind of announcement soon. So I don't know. And I've not heard any new news on the TV show in a long time. I mean, I assume it's still happening, but I've not
It
heard anything in a while.
was the TV show, is it supposed to come out? Was it supposed to come out this year?
I think they were supposed to start filming this year and maybe come out next year, or maybe they were going to, I don't remember. Like well, there was some controversy with the showrunner, and that may have made
Started.
that may have caused, some delay, but I don't know. Like, I've just not heard anything about it, in a very long time. Like, I even heard a rumor at one point that like Adrian King may play Mrs. Voorhees.
Ooh,
So
That'd be kind of weird.
But that was a long, long time ago, so I don't know.
I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't care that much, but it'd be kind of weird seeing the final girl from the first movie and the second one and as the killer now.
I don't know.
But this probably isn't a series directed at a general audience because most people aren't going to care that much about Friday the 13th. So
yeah,
the fans will probably be like, "This is really cool." And they'll understand, but explaining it to other people might not work very well. So what's your favorite horror movie of all time?
The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my favorite one. That one to me is just it's a lightning in the bottle kind of movie because it's just so like I don't think they really knew what they were doing when they were making that movie. It's just I don't know. That movie to me is just it's an incredible not just horror film, but I think just indie guerrilla kind of filmmaking.
Yeah.
But I think it was a big watershed moment in horror because to me that is Chainsaw is the granddaddy of the contemporary slasher. That was the first movie where you had the guy in the mask with the trademark weapon killing teenagers, and it all started from there. In my book, a lot of people want to say Psycho's the first slasher.
Yeah.
To me, it's Chainsaw. There's no doubt.
Okay, that you already answered my question. I was going to ask you, do you consider Texas a slasher? Because there's a camp that thinks it's not a slasher.
I don't call Psycho a slasher. So like when people call Psycho a slasher, I'm like, yeah, to me, it's not really a slasher. But if you look at the definition of what a slasher is, Texas Chainsaw hits pretty much most of those. And if you look at, again, it's the guy with the mask with his trademark weapon doing what he does best. Chainsaw just had a lot more kind of going for it with additional characters who were also killers, and Leatherface wasn't. Leatherface was kind of like what's funny about Leatherface too. You can feel sorry for Leatherface because like they treat him like crap, and he doesn't know. He's just like, where are all these stinky hippies coming from? They're all trespassing. He doesn't know anything else to do except to hang him on a hook and kill him. So you can feel bad for Leatherface. Like you can't really go. I feel really bad for Freddy. You know what I mean? He didn't.
No, he's a bad guy.
Yeah, or like I kind of feel bad for you can't really. You maybe feel bad a little bit for Jason, but then it's like, well, he just wiped out 20 people. How can you feel bad for him now? It's like he drowned. I feel bad for him, but now he just wiped out 20 people. So yeah, to me, Chainsaw is
That's a good point. For the most part, Leatherface is just defending his property, defending his house. Besides in the beginning of part 2 when he's on the back of a truck chainsawing a car going down the road, but other than that, it's always at his house, on the farm, or wherever.
I see some love for Peeping Tom in the chat. Peeping Tom is an excellent movie. If you've not seen Peeping Tom, that's a great movie. That movie was so good, it pretty much ruined the director's career because that movie was so shocking for its time that the director's career was done. And he was like Michael Powell. He was a big time director. And he killed his own career because that movie was so good. People were like, okay, you so yeah.
Phantom Empire, what's up, Sean? He says, unpopular opinion, probably, but I love TCM 03. No, the remake is great. I love the remake.
The remake is great. Yeah, the remake is great. They did. I was so shocked. Like when I first heard they were remaking that, it was like blasphemous. Like, how dare you remake the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? You can't do that. And I saw it in the theater, and I was just like, wow, this is pretty darn good. Like that scene where the woman shoots herself and the camera tracks through the bullet hole. I was like, holy crap, this is some serious stuff here. And of course, Jessica Biel in a skin tight, tank top. What's not to like about that?
Yeah, that's the one thing. Hey, it is a slasher, but there's no nudity in Texas Chainsaw. Not that I can think of.
No, there sure aren't. No.
So, no, never mind. The gore definitely got amped up as we went along. Just not the first one. just
Yeah.
not the first one.
Yeah.
I yeah, the remake is good. It's really good, and the beginning is it's fine. I don't really rewatch the beginning that often, but it's still
Yeah, I
okay.
don't I don't watch it very often either. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, that well, the remake had Jennifer or Jessica Biel in it. The prequel has Diora Baird in it, easy on the eyes, so
What is there one in the franchise that is not one that you don't really revisit or want to revisit in Texas Chainsaw?
the Leatherface movie.
Okay.
Although I heard that there's actually a really good cut of that movie out there, but whatever the distributor was, like they cut it and they re-edited it, and that's
Ah,
what we got. But like I've heard there's a really good cut of that movie somewhere out there. If you know the right people, they
you
can
can
they
find
can
it.
hook you up with it. But like in like that cut is supposed to be really freaking good because it's the same guys that did Inside, and like they're really talented filmmakers. But yeah, that
Yeah,
Leatherface movie, I only saw it once, and I was like,
me
yeah, no,
too.
I've forgotten 90% of it at this point. But
That that was the
yeah,
one that was direct only showing on Direct TV, I think, when it came out, if I'm not mistaken.
pretty much, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I watched it and was like, yeah, this movie's not good.
yeah.
But I'm gonna rewatch it in a couple weeks, so
Yeah.
hopefully I have a good time with it. Probably
Good
not.
luck. Get some drinks.
I'll just let the guest talk about it because he likes it and I don't. So
Oh,
good.
okay.
And, um, Adrian James says Evil Dead remake or Evil Dead Rise
The remake.
remake as well. I didn't Evil Dead Rise was fine. I didn't think it was anything crazy special, but it was all right.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. Here's the funny thing about Evil Dead could be one of those franchises that people don't talk about enough. But there's not and I know there's only what 5 Evil
5, yeah.
Dead movies, but there's not a bad Evil Dead movie in the bunch.
Everybody always says
So
that.
so which one do you not? And keep in mind, I'm not a huge Evil Dead guy. Like I
No,
don't watch those movies on a regular basis. And I actually think my favorite one, honestly, it's been a few years, but was Army of Darkness.
I have not
Um,
seen. That's the only one I haven't seen. I haven't seen Army of Darkness. I have it, but I just never watched it for whatever reason.
it's a series I don't revisit very often, but like I don't think any of them are bad movies by any stretch. And I thought Rise was okay, but still, there's not a bad movie in that whole that lot.
No, I saw the remake before I seen any of the original run of them. So I soft spot for the remake. Then I rewatched the original and the second one. I don't know what I was expecting. It wasn't for me. I'm not saying it was bad, but it's just not. Think I missed the boat on those. They're just
Mhm,
not for me,
mhm. Yeah, I,
and
I mean,
that's
I get
fine.
it. I get it. Like I can admire them, and I can say that was very the filmmaking acumen on those was very you know ambitious and whatnot, and there's some definitely some good stuff in them, but like
Mhm.
they do get a bit tedious and annoying, I think, with like I don't know, but not to bash the Evil Dead movies, but
Yeah,
I like them. I just don't revisit them very often.
yeah. And the remake is amazing, but it's not really a movie I want to rewatch that often, as gory and depressing as it is.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it is a freaking banger of a remake for sure.
yeah.
If you want to count it as a remake,
Yeah,
you
there's
know.
some great visuals in that movie. Like I was
Oh
blown
yeah,
away by the visuals in that movie when I saw it in the theater the first time. Like, whoa! Like when Jane Levy gets attacked in the woods the first time. There's some great visuals there. It's a really great looking movie. So that's why I'm
it is.
excited about this new Alien movie that Fede Alvarez has directed. If he can bring that same kind of visual flair
To
and
that
intensity to Alien, I think that'd be really interesting.
that's a franchise that it was. I'm fairly new to the Alien franchise as well. Never really had any interest in watching it. Watched the first one, second one, third one. I liked them. They were pretty good actually.
Mhm, mhm.
But it's never really been my thing. I don't know why, but I'm willing to give stuff a chance. And then if I don't like it, it's fine. One of the probably the most pickiest one of these horror YouTubers, though. I don't really like that many things, but
Mm.
I stick with the '80s cheese, and that's good enough for me. So that's where I kind of stick to.
Yeah, yeah, you can't go wrong with a good 80s cheesy horror film.
No way, nope. Oh, and I saw Jeremy's pick, by the way. Prince of Darkness is fantastic.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a great one.
It doesn't get talked about a lot, but I do, and it is a little confusing and a little weird, but it is. It's got a good cast, got a good soundtrack. It's a good movie. If you haven't seen it in the chat, go check it out. It's John Carpenter. You got to watch it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Lots of creepy moments in that one too. Lot of again, good visuals and creepy visuals in that one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Let's go really quick, rapid fire before I get you out of here.
Okay.
Favorite Friday the 13th movie?
See that's so tough because I love, to me, like the first 8 movies, even Jason Goes to Hell, to me, they're just so special. And I've seen them all a million times, and it's just like watching those movies to me is just like being home. There's so many
Comfort.
there's so many good memories attached to those movies too, like from my childhood and from growing up, that like it's just like, for instance, like whenever I watch Jason Takes Manhattan, it reminds me of, like I mentioned earlier about USA Up All Night. Every Friday the 13th, they do their marathon.
Yeah.
And part 8 would always close the marathon. And what they would, like, Friday night and Saturday night would just be all Friday the 13th. And then Sunday during the day, they would replay them. And they would always close with Jason Takes Manhattan. So whenever I see those closing credits, and you hear that song, The Darkest Side of the Night,
Yep,
it takes me back to sitting in my room watching those movies and being like, really, it's like a bittersweet kind of feeling, because like I would like as a kid, I'd be like, oh man, the weekend's over, like the marathon's over, the weekend's over, tomorrow I gotta go back to school, damn it. So like every time I watch Jason Takes Manhattan and that closing credits happens, it's like I'm transported right back there. Such a bittersweet kind of feeling. So when it comes to, like, I wouldn't say my favorite, but I do have a couple of go-tos. A New Beginning is definitely a go-to, because I love that one. To me is just so, the characters in that one are so crazy. I love the characters. To me, that one's got the most memorable characters of the whole series. The dialogue is insane. And the sleazy aspect of it is like, to think that movie got a wide release from Paramount, and it's that sleazy, and there's that much nudity in it. And it's like, it's so not politically correct. Like even by 80 standards, it's not politically correct at all. So I love that one. That one always just puts a big smile on my face. Of course, the first one I think is incredible. And part 4, to me, the final chapter, is, in my opinion, the perfect slasher movie, because you have great characters, you've got great freaking kills. And well, you've got great characters who you care about.
Yeah.
And great freaking kills. So like, like, these characters, when they die, they're going to die really horribly. So you like, if you like these characters, oh man, they're going to hurt. It's going to hurt. Like the spear gun to the crotch to that one dude.
It's amazing.
That it doesn't matter how many times I've seen it. Every time I watch it, I cringe. Every time I watch it, I cringe. And I think Trish is a really underrated final girl, because I love how she confronts Jason at the end. And she's just like, she's like, she's
this is it.
Final, she's going out, she's going out fighting. And I like that. I like that about her. So, yeah, perfect slasher in my book.
Favorite Halloween? Well, unless it's the original, then say.
Halloween 2. I love watching Halloween. Halloween 2 usually kicks off when I'm in that October Halloween spirit and I want to start watching Halloween movies. I always start with Halloween 2. That one, to me, is, I love Dick Warlock's portrayal of the character. I love that it's kind of just a down and dirty mean-spirited slasher. You know what I mean? Like the
Uh-huh.
first movie's kind of elegant, and it's it's really well done, and like you can see a little bit of those Hitchcockian kind of vibes in there because Carpenter was a big Hitchcock fan. Halloween 2 is just like, here's boobs, here's blood,
Yes, sir.
here's bodies. You know what I mean? It's just mean. It's down and dirty, and yeah, and I like the atmosphere. I like the mood. I don't know. I like everything about that movie, and I love that ending of just like we're just gonna we're blowing up together. You know what I mean? So I like that.
It's classic. Favorite Scream.
The first one.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. If you don't, most people say that.
Yeah, I don't. To me, a lot of those sequels, they're just to me. Most of the sequels are the same kind of slasher movie the first movie kind of made fun of. Like they
Yeah.
fell down that hole really quickly with that series, in my opinion. But I mean, I was around for that first one when it came out, and it just changed everything, and everybody was talking about it, and horror was cool, and everybody wanted to know about horror, and
Yeah, definitely did that.
it just I mean, it really did kind of it kickstarted the genre. It really did. It I should say it re-kickstarted the genre because it just horror was not doing great before Scream came out. So, whether you like it or not, I mean, that movie did a lot for the genre.
It definitely did. Let's go. Two more. Favorite Nightmare on Elm Street?
That one's a tough one too. Because I love the first three. Part 3, I think, is probably my favorite. To me, that one's the most ambitious. I love the characters in that one. I like Freddy in that one. That one is the last one where Freddy is still kind of scary. Yeah, he's throwing quips out there, and he's throwing the one-liners out there, but he's still dark. He's still kind of scary. And there's a lot of great visuals and just gags in that one that I like a lot too. Part 2, I mean, I love because it's just kind of out there, and it's part 2. Part 2 is kind of like it was the odd duck or the black sheep of that series for a long time, kind of the same way A New Beginning was for Friday the 13th. But I like that one. I think Freddy's scary in that one. And I mean, of course, the first one. How can you not love the first one? But I think my go-to in that series would be Dream Master.
Nice. All right, and last one. This one's from the chat. Blu-ray Addict says, favorite zombie movie?
I would, I would have to go with Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead.
I've only seen it once.
And that one, I love that one because it's so bleak. And it's just the effects in that one that was Tom Savini. That was prime time Tom Savini. There's so many great practical effects in that movie that even by today's standards, like even under the scrutiny of ultra high def, they look incredible. A lot of those special effects from back in the day, you see them in 4K and you're like, ugh, you know what I mean? Like, you can see all the tubes, and you can see that the skin is a different color, and like you can see you see everything in high def. But like that movie in high def, it still stands up. Those effects are so freaking good. The score, I think, is great. And a lot of people complain about that movie because like everybody's like screaming at each other and everybody's on edge. Well, as far as they know, they're the last people on Earth.
Yeah.
And they're falling apart. So I don't know. That one to me, like that one was like my least favorite of the Romero big three for a long time because it was so bleak and and Day of the Dead is bleak too, but Day of the Dead kind of has a quirky little sense of humor. They're throwing pies in zombies' faces, and like there's this weird sense of like hope in it. Also, all that's gone in Day of the Dead. There's no hope. There's no sense of humor. It's dour. It's down. It's bleak. I don't know. Something about that just kind of brings me back to that movie over and over. Yeah.
Not bad. Mine would be Return of the Living Dead. And that's just like a recently found love, thanks to obviously Christian loves that movie. And I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen it, and then I watched it probably like 3 or 4 times, and I was like, dude, this movie's fantastic. I absolutely love it.
Return is way up there because I mean, Return does the same thing where like that's a very I mean that one's pretty bleak too, but it's so punk rock
Yeah.
and it's got such an energy to it that it's like it's just infectious. Like I don't know how you can watch that movie and be in a bad mood when you're watching it.
Impossible.
And great cast in that one. That one supposedly takes place in Kentucky, so a little bit of Kentucky love for that one. And great effects in that one too. So I mean, it's right up there. I mean, it's Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Return of the Living Dead. Those three. Even I mean, Night of the Living Dead too. A lot of people kind of sleep on that one because it's old, it's in black and white, blah blah blah. But even something more recent like De La Morte de la More. Well, not recent, but I mean something that it just recently got a 4K release. But that's a great zombie movie that there's just so much going on in other than just The Walking Dead. But there's a lot of great zombie movies out there. There's a lot of really great bad zombie movies out there. Like the Italians, they made so many great bad zombie movies. Oh my god, Burial Ground is such so good. Fulci Zombie is incredible. That's another one. That's a great a great zombie movie if you've not seen that one.
I've seen that. Yep.
Yeah.
There's something for everybody for sure. I mean, not everybody's gonna like the same stuff. That's the best part about it.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Like I watch Zombieland like fucking constantly. I know it's not like the greatest zombie movie ever, but
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's hilarious. And my kids love it, so they're always watching it. They were just watching Zombieland Part 2, I think, like a couple hours ago.
Yeah, Zombieland. Yep, it's great. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah,
Train to Busan.
Oh, Train to Busan was great. Yeah, how could I forget about Train to Busan? Yeah,
I didn't see it. I just started it the other night. I watched about a half an hour and then I fell asleep.
So good. The sequel they did wasn't as good, but Train to Busan is great. I'm
gonna have to finish it.
Yeah, you should absolutely.
But yeah, I want to thank you for coming on here and chatting it up. Really appreciate it. I had a good time getting to know you and chatting with you. Appreciate the chat. You guys were great questions, great interaction. Really means a lot. Thanks for the super chats. Didn't have to do it, but I appreciate it as always. Piz, if you're the man. If you're not subscribed to his channel, links down below. Piz out. Find him on the YouTube. He's amazing. Does great stuff. Go support him. He's a way bigger channel than me, so you probably already are subscribed to him. But if you're not, go do it. Can't thank you enough, man. Really appreciate getting to know you a little bit.
Yeah, this was fun. We'll have to do it again sometime soon. But yeah, thank you for having me on. And yeah, you had a great chat, and you've got a cool community here of some really cool people.
I appreciate it, man. I mean, I know I don't get as many as the big boys do, and I'm fine with it. But I do appreciate everybody that comes and hangs out in the chat. It means a lot because you could be doing anything else tonight instead. You're hanging out with me, so it does mean a lot. So thanks again, Piz. Appreciate it. Definitely will be in touch about collabing in the future. It was a freaking blast, and I'm gonna go see what the wife's doing because that's what you got to do, and you got a wife upstairs when you're done.
There you go.
All right, guys. Have a good night, everybody. Appreciate it.